Hello everyone and welcome to another awareness program by BM Birla Heart Research Center, Kolkata. Do you know that the main risk factor for developing cardiovascular disease is hypertension? Rather, not even the heart. It can also lead to damage of your kidneys, your brain, your eyes. But the good news is that it can be controlled. Do you know that about 1 in every 3 people go through hypertension? About 10% of the total overall death that occurs in India happens due to hypertension. So today, BM Birla observes World Hypertension Day, and we have with us Dr. Anjan Siotia, Director Cardiology, giving us insight on hypertension and how it can be controlled. So sir, the first question which I would like to ask you is, what is hypertension?
So yes, hypertension is the medical term for high blood pressure. Okay, so hypertension means high blood pressure. That's what it is.
Okay. So sir, can hypertension be cured?
Well, if you mean cured, means can it be completely eradicated? If somebody is hypertensive, somebody has high blood pressure, can we do something to eradicate it from the body? The answer is no. It's when usually for most people when hypertension happens, it's likely to stay with them for the rest of their life. But high blood pressure can be controlled. So that certainly can be done, and we will come to that, how it can be controlled, what can we do about hypertension. But the short answer to your question is, it cannot be cured, but it can be controlled.
Okay. Sir, is it I have heard that it is very necessary to keep on checking the blood pressure,
Yes,
and
yes.
because it's something that people experience on their daily lives. There is fluctuations in the
Yes.
pressures and
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
So sir, how big is this problem?
So hypertension is a big problem. Okay, so I think more people all over the world suffer from hypertension than any other serious condition. Okay, hypertension, as you said earlier, hypertension is responsible for a lot of deaths, and hypertension is also called silent killer. The reason it's called silent killer is, for most people with high blood pressure, for most people with hypertension, there are no symptoms. Okay, it does not cause any symptoms, but it just slowly damages various organs of our body. So it put pressure on the heart, it can cause brain strokes, it can cause heart attacks, it can damage your kidneys, it can damage your eyes. So it can have a detrimental effect on a lot of various organs of the body. And it happens slowly. It does not happen in one day usually. It happens over a period of years and decades, not even weeks and months, decades. When you have high blood pressure for a very, very long time, these organs get damaged, and then at some point of time later on, usually in the life, it manifests as increased risk of heart attack or brain stroke or kidney damage or eye damage and things like that. So it is very, very slow. The exact incidence, your question was how big is the problem. So the exact incidence of hypertension is very, very difficult to gauge. And the reason I say that is, the definition of hypertension has changed over the years. Okay, so when we were in medical school, I'm talking of 20-25 years ago, the threshold for blood pressure was 140/90. Okay, but gradually, I mean, and some people in some countries like England, the threshold to treat somebody for hypertension would be 160/100 even. Okay. And we will come to that, the threshold for hypertension and the treatment. But recently, studies in America have shown that lower blood pressure is even better. So there was a study in America which showed that a blood pressure of 120/80 is better than a blood pressure of 140/90. So if you use that definition of 120/80 rather than 140/90, then a large number of people all over the world would be hypertensive. Okay. I would say half of the world's adult population may be counted as hypertensive. Whereas if you choose a definition of 140 by 90, then the numbers may be much lower. So it depends on what threshold you use, the total number, the size of the problem will vary.
Okay.
But whatever you do, whatever definition you choose, the total number of people with hypertension is huge, and it is a huge problem because people don't get symptoms from it, and it is a silent killer.
So, sir, okay. So the question is, like, blood pressure, we have seen it fluctuates a lot in people. It's a very common thing which happens, and like these fluctuations, are these very common, and is like, how can one gauge that he or she has high blood pressure?
So there is, the only way to know if somebody has high blood pressure is to check the blood pressure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we sometimes get people coming to us saying, "Oh, doctor, I know when I have high blood pressure and I feel something," but that's very unusual. Okay. As I said, high blood pressure does not cause any symptoms. So because it does not cause any symptoms, people don't know that they have pressure. So the only way they can know that they have high blood pressure is to check their blood pressure. So you have to either go to a doctor, a clinic, get your blood pressure checked, or buy these automated BP machines, which are these days easily available in various shops, that you can keep at home and check your blood pressure regularly. And when you check your blood pressure, you will know whether it is normal or it is high.
But sir, I've also heard that there are symptoms of high blood pressure, like people start bleeding from their nose, or there is
Yes.
lot of nervousness which happens.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So these are not kind of common symptoms of high blood pressure. So for example, if you look at the total number of people on the planet with hypertension at any given point of time, and it will run into 100 crore, maybe, I don't know, more. The number of people who get a nosebleed because of that will be very, 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 very small. I mean, 0.001% or whatever. So these numbers, most people with high blood pressure don't bleed from the nose. So what I am getting at is, you should not wait for a nosebleed to think that you have high blood pressure. Most people don't get any nosebleeds at all. Yes, sudden spurt in high blood pressure can cause problem. It can basically cause rupture of blood vessels when the pressure is very, very high, and we are talking about a blood pressure of 180, 200. When it goes very high, the small blood vessels in the body can rupture. If a blood vessels in the nose rupture, then you can bleed externally. If it ruptures in the brain, you can get brain stroke, a hemorrhage in the brain, and things like that. But hemorrhage in the brain is not, fortunately, a disease of old people. You don't need to wait till then to diagnose high blood pressure. Most people, after the age of, I would say, 25, 30 years of age, should have regular blood pressure check. Once every month, once every couple of months in young people, and see what their blood pressures are.
So there is no age factor in.
So as we grow older, our risk of getting high blood pressure or hypertension increases. Okay. But the fact is, so in the past, the textbooks of medicine say after 40 your risk is very high. But nowadays we are seeing young people in their 20s with high blood pressure. I think, we will talk about the causes of pressure and all, but I think stress plays a huge role these days. So stress is one of the commonest risk factor for high blood pressure.
Okay.
And everybody seems to be stressed these days. Students, school students, people applying for jobs, people wanting to get past an entrance exam. So stress is driving the blood pressure. So I think it's not a bad idea to have blood pressure checked even for younger people, younger adults, or if there are any, especially somebody with a family history, somebody with headaches, which is, a common symptom sometimes that people get with high blood pressure. So anything, it's very easy to get a blood pressure checked. It takes 2 minutes. You can do it at home these days. So get your blood pressure checked and find out if you have a problem. And of course, we will talk about the management.
Yeah. But sir, since you talked about headaches, I just wanted to know, how is it different, like a normal headache and a headache maybe through because of hypertension? Is there a way to differentiate?
It's a very, very, very good question. Headache is common. All of us get headaches at some point of time. High blood pressure is also very common. Now, what happens is our blood pressure kind of fluctuates all the time.
Yes.
It's not the same throughout a period, and it depends on what we are doing, how stressed we are. So, if for example, if I am stressed due to any reason, then my pressure will go up. And pain is a type of stress. So, for example, if I hurt myself, if I have a fall, then my blood pressure will go up because of the stress of the pain. So, it is possible that somebody has a migraine. It is
Yeah.
possible that somebody has a migraine and gets a headache because of that, the migraine headache. But because of the pain, they may have a higher blood pressure reading than normal. And once you treat the pain, the blood pressure may come down. The problem is we all tend to check our pressures, or we tend to go to doctors when there is a problem. So what some people do is they check their blood pressure while they are having a headache, and then the pressure is high because they are having the headache, and they think that their pressure is high and that is causing the headache, whereas it may be vice versa. Okay, so the rule of checking a blood pressure, and this is, we'll talk about it, how to check blood pressure, but the blood pressure should be checked when somebody is in a very comfortable position, comfortable situation, ideally after half an hour of complete relaxation. So for example, if we talk about patients coming to BM Birla, somebody is driving from their home, they come to BM Birla hospital and they arrive here and they find out there is no car parking. They go around the hospital trying to find a car park. Their stress level goes up. They are getting late for the appointment. They look at their watch and they're getting more stressed. And then finally they find a car parking spot. They park the car. They run. They don't want to be late to the clinic. When they arrive the hospital, and when I check their pressure, it's very high. So most people, as soon as they arrive in the clinic, after a struggle driving, finding the car parking spot, the pressures are very high. You make them sit in the clinic for 10 minutes, glass of water, settle them down, their pressure comes up. Right. So it is normal, and I keep telling people, and we'll talk about it. There's something called white coat hypertension. It's a phenomenal seen worldwide. People see a doctor, they enter a doctor's chamber, their pressures go up.
Oh.
So that's also very
That's
very
an
common.
interesting fact.
It's very common. So I often joke that everybody who enters my chamber, has a high blood pressure. When I check their pressures, they are high. So I always ask them. Most people tend to have a BP machine at home these days. So I ask them, what's your blood pressure at home? And they say, oh yeah, it's usually very good, 110, 120. When I check, it's 160. And then they tell me, oh no, doctor, the blood pressure you are checking is the right blood pressure. Our machine must be wrong. So I have to tell them, I usually tell them that no, that's not correct. It's not necessary that your BP machine at home is wrong just because it's an automated machine and just because I am a doctor and I have to be right. No, it's the blood pressure that fluctuates. So at home, you're in a relaxed place, your blood pressure is normal. You come to the hospital, you see me, you're stressed, and there's something called white coat hypertension, so your pressure is high. So,
right. So what are the causes of, like, one thing which you mentioned was stress. What are the other things which can...
So there is no kind of single specific cause for hypertension. Okay. So we call it idiopathic. Idiopathic means there is no cause for hypertension. Okay. So 95% on the planet, 95% of the patients on the planet with hypertension do not have any cause, so as to speak, cause for hypertension. 5% of patients have what we call a secondary hypertension. Okay, secondary hypertension means they have another disease process which is driving the blood pressure. Okay. That disease process may be a kidney problem. It may be a hormonal problem, like they may have certain hormones, very rare conditions, but they may have certain excessive hormones secreted into the body that can drive the blood pressure. They may have, for example, a small tumor somewhere in some glands of the body that is secreting a hormone which is driving the blood pressure. They may be taking a medication sometimes that may be driving their blood pressure. So there are small proportion of people who have a cause for hypertension, and we call this secondary hypertension. Okay, so we try to, this is probably getting too technical for lay people, but we do try and look for causes in people with very young people or old people with very high pressure, to look for a secondary cause. But that's only 5% patients. 95% of the people with high blood pressure, with hypertension, do not have a cause as such. But there are risk factors. So what are the risk factors? As I mentioned earlier, stress. Stress is a very important risk factor. Bad diet. So people who consume a lot of junk food, a lot of salty food, okay, processed meat, salt, chips, all this cause high blood pressure.
Okay.
So that is a risk factor. Obesity. So people who are obese, they are prone to get high blood pressure. People who don't do any exercises, high blood pressure. Excessive alcohol. So little bit of alcohol is okay. Excessive alcohol can cause hypertension. Smoking drives your blood pressure up, so that causes hypertension. So these are some of the common risk factors for hypertension: sedentary life, obesity, bad diet, smoking, excessive alcohol, stress. These are the things that can drive the pressure.
Okay. So, this is like patients who are suffering from hypertension should obviously be consuming food which has less salt.
Absolutely.
And
so we will talk about the the management of hypertension. When we talk about the management, we can we'll kind of talk about the non-pharmacological and the pharmacological management.
okay, okay. So before that, I would like to ask, what is the correct way of measuring blood pressure?
Yeah. So we kind of touched upon that. So first thing is that the patient should be in a relaxed state.
Relaxed state.
Which is very difficult to get these days, by
Yes.
the way. We are always running, we are always stressed, we are always working. So, unfortunately, hospitals or doctors' clinics are not the best place to measure blood pressure because you're bound to get stressed when you go to a hospital. When you go to a hospital, the environment itself makes you stressed, and you're anxious about what the doctor is going to say. What problem I have got, what is he going to prescribe. So all these thoughts, subconsciously it keeps coming to the mind. So doctor's chamber is a bad place to measure blood pressure. Okay, so the best place is actually, I think, home, patient's home, and they should, as I said, they should measure it half an hour after complete relaxation.
Okay.
That's one thing. No tea or coffee in that half an hour. Okay, patient should be either in a seated position or even lying down is okay. The arm should be at the same level as the heart. So if you are seated, your arm, you put the pressure cuff here, it should be at the same level as the heart. Now, when we were young, we were told to measure the blood pressure in the left arm because because the artery of the left arm comes directly from aorta. So that nowadays the recommendation are that when the first time somebody is having the blood pressure checked, they should have it checked in both the arms, left and right. Okay, and then a doctor can tell which arm has higher blood pressure. Most people have some difference. Nobody has exactly the same blood pressure in the two arms. So for example, in one arm, the blood pressure may be 120, in one arm it may be 125, let's say, for example. So you know that this arm, the right arm, has a slightly higher blood pressure. So so from then on, all the readings should be taken in the arm with the higher blood pressure.
Okay.
So you should not check the blood pressure in the left arm if it has 120 and the right has 125, and then you should check it in the right arm subsequently. And ideally, you should then check at least 2 or 3 readings, and then choose the lowermost reading as the correct reading for that patient at that time.
Okay. This is something really new.
This is something
I'm
new,
learning today.
and this is something that nobody ever does.
Yeah, yes.
Which doctor? Yeah. So these are kind of recommendations. That's something that is taught to medical students and taught to doctors.
Yes.
But nobody on the planet, well, I wouldn't use the word nobody,
Yeah.
but 99.9% of the doctors do not have time or patience or enthusiasm to check 5 times. Check in left arm and right arm. Okay, left arm is bigger or right is higher, so 3 times in the right arm. Nobody does that. So we all check the blood pressure once only, and we rely on that reading, although it is, as I just said, not very reliable, but we still do it. So this is the right way of checking blood pressure for someone who is at home. People listening, lay people, they can do it at home themselves, so they know which arm has a higher pressure, so use that arm for all subsequent BP measurement. And rather than one reading, maybe take 2 readings 5 minutes apart, and whichever the lower one is, consider that as the kind of accurate blood pressure.
Blood pressure.
To
Okay. So, sir, what are the treatments available for hypertension, for treatment of hypertension?
Yeah. So before we come to the treatment, I would like to spend a few minutes on the diagnosis of hypertension.
Diagnosis.
Okay.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is it is a very important disease. It is a very common disease. And the truth is, when we talk about hypertension, we doctors, there's something called the rule of half.
Okay.
Rule of half means if, for example, you have 100 people with high blood pressure, 50 never get a diagnosis of high blood pressure. They never have their BP checked.
Okay.
Only 50 have their blood pressure checked and marked as high blood pressure. Of the 50 who have the blood pressure checked, 25 will never take medicines. Only 25 will take medicines.
Okay.
And of the 25 who take medicines, only half, 13, will actually have their blood pressure controlled on medications. So out of 100 people with high blood pressure on the planet, only 12 will have their blood pressure controlled on medications, the other 88 will not. So this is the problem with high blood pressure. Okay, so it is very, very important to diagnose. And to diagnose, it is very, very important to check your blood pressure. So the first thing before we move on to the treatment for hypertension is, first of all, confirm the diagnosis by checking blood pressure. And as I said, for me as a doctor, it is very, very challenging sometimes, because everybody who comes to my chamber, or almost everybody who comes to my chamber, has high blood pressure. Okay.
Is it the white coat
It
syndrome?
is the white coat syndrome. It is the white coat syndrome. And when I tell people and they say, no, doctor, my blood pressure is 120. How can it be 160? And then I tell them, no, I have that effect on people. Their pressures go up when they see me. So, I check everybody's pressure when they come to my chamber as a part of my examination. But funnily enough, I don't actually trust what I check. I don't believe that somebody's pressure is 180 by 110 because this is what it is showing in my chamber. So what do? So I either depend a lot on their home BP monitoring. I ask them, what is your blood pressure reading? I tell them, if you have a machine, why don't you do one thing? For a week, check your blood pressure 3 times in the day when you're completely relaxed, make a diary, and then come and show it to me after a week. So that's one very good way of knowing what their pressures are doing. The other is, we can do a test, and it's a test that I am doing increasingly more and more these days. It's called 24-hour ambulatory BP monitoring. Okay, so basically it's like it's a machine, a BP machine that we give you. You come to the hospital, we give you that machine. You put a cuff in the arm, and it's attached to your body with a belt, and you take it home. And that machine checks your blood pressure every half an hour for 24 hours. So you come back after a day with 48 readings of your blood pressure, and we look at what the average blood pressure is.
Okay.
Throughout the day, when you are sleeping, when you are working, when you are running, whatever. And it gives us an average. So it gives a very, very good idea of what somebody's blood pressure is. So you won't believe, but I have actually stopped the BP medicines of lots of people who were put on medications because one particular reading was high in a doctor's chamber and started on medicine. And I said, stop the medicine, do this test after a week or two and come back. And their pressures are normal. Their average pressures are normal.
Okay.
So this is a very, very good test. And these days in England, doctors are not allowed to start somebody on BP medicine without doing this test. So all the general physicians, they are given this guideline by the government that every patient who you find to have a high blood pressure should have this test first, and then only start them on medications.
Okay.
So it's a very, very good test. If you don't have a BP machine at home, then you should, anybody listening to this should have this test done first. It's a cheap test, 2,000 rupees or so, maybe less than that. And it can save you a lot of money and will save you from taking unnecessary medications.
Okay.
So do this test, confirm the diagnosis. Once you confirm the diagnosis, then only go for treatment.
Sorry to interrupt in between. I just wanted to ask, since this is a digital age, a lot of people we see are wearing these watches 24/7, which keep on monitoring their blood pressure and heart rate and everything. How reliable is it?
I'm not the best person to answer that question. You should ask the companies which are manufacturing these devices. But I would suggest that they are fairly good. Okay, because our blood pressures are fluctuating all the time. So nobody has the same blood pressure of say 120/80, which is kind of the benchmark.
Yes.
A lot of people think that their pressures are 120/80 all the time.
Yeah.
It is not possible. Not a single person on the planet will have the same blood pressure throughout a 24-hour period. So our body is designed in such a way that our pressures fluctuate, and they fluctuate according to the metabolic needs of the body. So for example, if you are sleeping, your requirements are very low. So your blood pressure will be low. So most people, almost all of us, will have lower blood pressure at night than when we are awake. Okay, when we are getting up in the morning, our body tries to prepare us. Body knows that you get up, there will be stress, you will be working. So in the night itself, early hours of morning, certain chemicals are secreted into our body. They tend to increase the blood pressure. So our blood pressure starts to go up even before we wake up. And when you wake up, it will be high. Then you start running or jogging, go to the gym, it will be even higher. And then you are rushing, trying to catch a train or a bus, pressure even higher.
Yes.
Then you reach hospital, and then your boss starts shouting at you even higher.
Right.
So it's completely, it's a zigzag line. So nobody will have a line like that. It's always up and down, depending upon your needs, depending upon your mental state. So at what point of time during that 24-hour period you have checked your blood pressure.
Yes.
So that's only one single reading.
Right.
Whereas if you do this 24-hour monitoring or maintain a diary with 4 or 5 readings, you can get a better idea about your blood pressure status.
Sir, I wanted to ask you about uncontrolled hypertension. What exactly does it mean? What is uncontrolled hypertension?
So before I answer that question, I have not answered one of your previous question, which was about treatment of hypertension.
Okay.
So first let's talk about treatment for hypertension, and then we will talk about uncontrolled hypertension. So when we talk about the management of high blood pressure, so I would divide the management into 2 categories: non-pharmacological measurements and non-pharmacological measures and pharmacological measures. So non-pharmacological measures means lifestyle changes basically. So if somebody is obese, you ask them to lose weight. Somebody is not exercising, ask them to exercise every day. Get them to see a dietitian and improve their diet. So avoid junk food, avoid processed meat, avoid basically salty stuff.
Yes.
Too much of salt is bad for pressure, so reduce the salt intake. and there is very good evidence that if you lose weight, then for every 1 kilogram of weight loss, your blood pressure may come down by 3 to 4 points. Okay, if you cut down on salt intake, again your blood pressure may come down by that much. So salt reduction and weight loss is very important.
Lifestyle
Yeah. And if you're smoking, stop smoking completely. I mean, it's not good for any organ in the body, also for blood pressure. If you're consuming too much of alcohol, then cut down on alcohol intake. Stress management. Again, we can go on about stress management for days, but to cut a long story short, try to cut down on your stress in whatever way you can. It's not very easy, I know. Yoga and relaxation exercises, these also help. So yes, these things are very important for anybody with or without blood pressure. For blood pressure patient, they are more important. Okay, because blood pressure, as I said earlier, is a silent killer. You don't have any symptoms. Okay, and if it goes on for years and years, it will lead to heart attacks, it will lead to paralytic strokes and things. So we should check our blood pressure at regular interval. If it's high, initially try for these non-pharmacological measures. And in fact, in England, most doctors will say that, if your blood pressure is only mildly elevated, so for example, BP is between 140 to 160, they will say, okay, 3 months of or 6 months of non-pharmacological treatment. Just weight reduction, diet, exercise, relaxation, yoga, and then come back after 6 months. If it's still high, we will give you medications.
Okay.
So that's the initial treatment. And then you come to drug treatment. I mean, there's no point talking about various medications because the audience, I believe, is mainly lay people rather than doctor. But there are different groups of drugs. Okay? And we tend to prefer certain drugs for certain group of patient. I won't go into all that because it's quite technical. But the bottom line is any drug is good as long as it controls the blood pressure. As I said earlier, out of 100 people with high blood pressure, only 12 actually have the BP controlled on this planet.
Okay.
So whichever way you can control is good, but most doctors will know which drug to start. Certain drugs are preferred, like ACE inhibitor, angiotensin receptor blocker, calcium channel blocker, diuretic. These are the first few medicines that we give, and if BP is not controlled, we give a second one and the third one, and we increase the dose, and then we go on adding medicines, and most people end up having 2, 3, 4 medicines as they grow older. So this is what the kind of, in short, the drug treatment for high blood pressure. And then coming back to your question about what is uncontrolled hypertension. So uncontrolled hypertension is, when people have their blood pressure not controlled on, at least 3 medicines. So there are loads of people like that who are already taking 3 medicines, including a group of drug called diuretics. And if in spite of that their blood pressures are high, then that's called uncontrolled hypertension. So again, the treatment is the same. You add more medicines, you emphasize more on non-pharmacological measures, and then in these patients we also look for that condition that I mentioned earlier called secondary hypertension. So you look for other causes.
Right.
So whether they have an hormonal imbalance or something that is driving their blood pressure up. So you kind of treat that if you can find it. So that's what uncontrolled hypertension is, and unfortunately it is quite common. Very rarely, sometimes it's extremely difficult to control. Very few patients, but they do come. You put them on 5, 6 medicines and their pressures are still high. And these days, a procedure is also coming, it's called renal nerve denervation, where you put a catheter in the kidney and alter the nerves of the kidney. It's very, very new. It's only just come to India, and this is also something that we can think of in people with uncontrolled hypertension who are not controlled on multiple medications.
Well, this is such a brilliant information that we have got, that medical science is looking at like creating a solution for hypertension.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir, for letting us know that. Sir, is there any SOS, like SOS medication for hypertension?
So there is no. I mean, high blood pressure, in my opinion, should not be treated on an SOS basis. Okay, so blood pressure should be. I mean, as I said, everybody will have fluctuations throughout the day anyway. So if you check your blood pressure when you are stressed and it may be 180 by 100 and you may get anxious, oh, my pressure is very high, shall I take a medication? So in my opinion, that is the wrong thing to do. Okay, you should just keep checking your pressures a few times, and then if it's high, then take a medicine on a regular basis which controls your blood pressure on a regular basis.
Okay.
So I wouldn't particularly worry about one particular reading. So for example, somebody has high blood pressure, their blood pressure is 120 by 80, let's say, on 2 medicines that they are taking. And one fine day when they check their blood pressure, the blood pressure is 155 by 100. So should they take a tablet quickly because their pressure has gone up? Usually it's 120 by 80. The answer is no. If it's very high, of course, 200 or something, then fine, you can justify it, but not otherwise. They should just monitor their blood pressure, calm down, relax, keep monitoring. If it's high, go to their doctor. They may need their medications increasing on a regular basis, rather than taking something SOS.
Sir, this is the pandemic time. A lot of people are staying at home. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of stress. So, have you seen any increase in the trend of hypertension in
Yes.
patients these days?
So what I am seeing is, and I see a very small proportion of people, I have to say, and I also tend to see a skewed population. So I see people who have problems.
Yes.
They only come to me.
Yes.
So what I am about to say may not apply to the whole population, but the short answer to your question is yes. And what we are seeing increasingly, more frequently, is young people. Young people who have had corona, young people who had family members with corona or somebody they know. All of us have people we know who had corona. So people are worried. So this anxiety is driving their blood pressure. So they are getting cardiac symptoms like vague type of atypical pain, they are getting palpitations, and they are also getting high blood pressure. So yes, stress driving the pressure up, and the stress at this moment, the biggest source of stress is coronavirus.
So, sir, on this World Hypertension Day, one message for our viewers.
Oh my God, that's a difficult one. One single thing, one single message is my one single message to everybody will be try to be happy.
Yes.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so it's not an easy thing to do, but try to be happy, because if you are miserable, if you are stressed, it's only going to add more misery. It's only going to increase your blood pressure. It's only going to increase your risk of cardiac problem and brain problem. So try to be happy, and that may help your blood pressure.
Thank you so much, sir, for taking out time and letting us know all about hypertension. For our viewers, stay happy, stay safe, and for any queries and appointments, you can always call on our number 033 4088 4088. Thank you so much.